Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Have you ever felt that spark of frustration when you are reading an article and suddenly run into a string of symbols, like a star or a colon in the middle of a word? You might stop and ask yourself, is this supposed to be easier for me to read, or is it actually making the text harder to process? Today we are looking at the big debate of a gender-inclusive language, and exactly what happens in your brain when your eyes hit those little symbols. The big question here is whether using these modern inclusive ways of writing helps make language more fair without slowing down your reading or confusing your brain. Some people feel that these changes are just noise, or as the title of our study jokingly puts it, Gendergaga. Others argue that the old way of writing, which uses the masculine form to cover everyone, leaves women and non-binary people invisible. To figure out who is right, researchers gathered data from 24 different hidden studies involving over 900 people. In these studies, people were split into two groups. One group read a normal text while the other read the same text but with extra symbols like the gender star, the colon, or the middle I to make it gender inclusive. Then the researchers tested them to see how well they remembered the facts and how long it took them to get through the text. Now, let us talk about the results. You might expect that reading words with weird symbols would make your brain work double time, leading to a massive drop in understanding or a really slow reading speed. But that is not what they found. When it came to how well people actually understood the text or how well they remembered the details, there was no significant difference. It was basically a tie. You did not get worse at understanding the information just because the author used inclusive terms. So, if the actual understanding is the same, why does it still feel annoying to some readers? Well, the study did find that people felt these texts were slightly less easy to read. This is a fascinating piece of the puzzle. Even though their brains were doing the work just as well as the group reading standard text, they had this subjective feeling that the inclusive text was, well, less comprehensible. It is a bit like wearing a new pair of glasses. Your eyes might feel like they have to adjust at first, and it might be slightly uncomfortable, but your vision is actually just as sharp as it was before. Think of this feeling as a bias against the unknown. Our brains love efficiency, and we are used to reading things in a certain way. When a new system pops up, our brain flags it as confusing or hard, even if our performance says otherwise. The researchers think this just comes down to habit. We are not used to seeing these symbols yet, but the more we see them, the more the discomfort will fade away. There are some limitations to keep in mind here. This was mostly a study of adults who already have set ideas about language. We do not know for sure if younger generations who are growing up with these symbols in their schools might feel completely differently. Also, the study used fairly short texts, so it is possible that longer reading assignments might show different patterns of fatigue. But the core finding is pretty solid. The actual reading comprehension, the stuff that really matters when you are trying to learn something, is totally safe. If you are wondering if one type of inclusive symbol is better than another, like the star versus the colon, the answer is that it does not seem to matter much. None of the specific symbols stood out as causing more or less trouble than the others. This suggests that the issue isn't the specific character being used, but rather the fact that language itself is evolving. So, what is the final verdict? If you are worried that inclusive writing is going to make people dumber or prevent them from learning new things, this evidence says to relax. Your brain is a lot more flexible than you might think. We are currently going through a massive shift in how we represent people in language, and just like any other technological or social update, there is a period of feeling a bit awkward, but eventually the new way becomes the normal way. If you found this deep dive interesting, think about your own reaction. Next time you see a gender star or a colon, try to notice your own internal feeling. Are you leaning into the discomfort, or are you letting it go and focusing on the content? This study shows that the content is going to reach your brain just fine regardless. Thanks for joining me in the lab today. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button, leave a comment with your own thoughts on the language debate, and subscribe for more science that challenges the way you see the world. See you next time.